Obviously, Croatia are the kings of the knockout rounds, especially when it comes to penalty shootouts and taking teams to extra time. This is Brazil, though, and this is a completely different animal. James, we'll start with you. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're not seeing the same Croatia that we witnessed in 2018. They are a lot more vulnerable. They don't necessarily have those killer instincts up top like they shown 4 years ago. Brazil probably should be too much for them, or am I mistaken here?
I completely agree with you that Brazil should probably be too much. And look, this will sound like the jealous rantings of an Englishman, but I'm not sure that we aren't seeing the same Croatia we saw 4 years ago. I mean, after all, they didn't win a game in 90 minutes in the knockout round back then either. You know, as I tweeted a few days ago, they haven't won a knockout game in 90 minutes since 1998. They're just, I think they really kind of, as much as they dominate possession and it looks quite neat and it lulls you into somewhere between boredom and sort of a begrudging impressive, you know, I'm somewhat impressed by them. The possession they have, it's not very penetrative, and I think they probably got the worst matchup possible against Brazil, because this Brazil team, it's not Argentina, it's not Spain. If they got through, they don't feel like they need the ball. They'll perfectly happily let you pass it in front of them because their defense is really solid. You pass it in front of them for as long as you want, and then they'll get it back. And Vinicius, Rafinha, and that lot will be flying down the other end before you know it. I think this is a really tough match for Croatia. If you're Zlatko Dalic, if you're Luka Modric, Dejan Lovren, all these people in the Croatia camp that love to take offense anytime you say anything, I think your team's not very good, mate. You know, they weren't very good against Japan. Brazil were really, really good against South Korea. So I see this going one way quite heavily in Brazil's favor.
Nigel?
I just think, for me, Ian, I always look at the product on the pitch. I look at the players. I look at the application. I look at their facial expression, body language, and all that comes with it. I still stick by what I've said from the start of this tournament. I see a very focused Brazil side. I think that they are super focused, regardless of the opponent. Their job is, and their goal is, to win this World Cup. I don't see them taking anyone lightly. I don't see them wanting to take it lightly on any team. I see they want to score more goals than the opposition, and they want to beat everyone to a pummel to put that respect back on Brazilian football and Brazil as a nation for winning the World Cup and being one of the most dominant nations. That's what I see in all the performances I've seen. Croatia, you can never write them off, because for me, Croatia, this team, have the quality, have the experience. They do have the capability to cause an upset, but I think it's just asking too much against this Brazil team right now. If it was not a focused Brazil team, if there was a lot going on the outside, I could say, yeah, but I don't see that. And I said again, the celebration, forget the dancing. It's the fact also that they got the manager involved in the dancing, which shows how much of a united dressing room they have, how much of a one direction and one goal they have as a collective. Even without Neymar playing, they've got the same goal, and they've got enough quality to make it difficult for Croatia. But again, like we always say, Croatia are that team for me where I feel that if they were a heavyweight boxer, they can go the full 10 rounds, but they don't have that energy for that knockout punch. And I think them going into extra time against Japan will definitely be a toll on them that Brazil can expose if they start high energy, high press and explosive in the first 15, 20 minutes. I can see Brazil getting the job done.
When I think of this Brazilian team, yes, Neymar is the headliner. But what I like about them, what I think gives them the edge, is you have other players who have gotten goals. In that last game against South Korea, complete team performance. May was done after the first goal. What makes them so difficult to play against is their ability to press and back press from the front. That second goal, the penalty kick that Richarlison, who puts on the S on it, maybe it's the R, maybe not the S, but the S on his chest for Superman, Super Richarlison, maybe an SR when he plays for Brazil. This man is hungry. This man is playing like he's playing for his entire family. All these players are playing for more than themselves. They have a sense of nationalistic pride when they put on this Brazilian shirt, and they just swarm you. They can run. I mean, they have the audacity to throw 5, 6 players on the counter to get in the box, and then those same 5, 6 players who you're not used to seeing defend, get back. Vinicius Jr. running back to tackle someone. Rafinha, I think his unselfish play, unselfish running has been excellent throughout this World Cup. They are a team that have so many weapons, and look at the players they have off the bench that can come in to change the game. Croatia wish they had this sort of depth. For Croatia, from their perspective, they will have a couple things that need to happen. They will need to have Neymar go out on a freaking bender the night before a game. Vinicius Jr. left at the nightclub. You have Rafinha and richarlison, maybe, food poisoning. Allison, I don't know, loses his eyesight. A lot of things can go in their favor. If all those things happen, then I could see this going to penalty kicks and the Croatia win. Not a chance in hell they're winning this game.
I really like the point Mike's making, and just to maybe give it some statistical underpinning. Des threw up a stat there earlier saying Brazil, I think, have had 78 shots, most of any team in the tournament. That doesn't surprise me in the slightest. But I was looking down the list, and actually 75 shots, and actually you have to go all the way down to 29th place or joint 21st for the player with the most shots if you add them all up at the tournament, and that's Rafinha with just 8. Like, this is like Nigel's been saying, like Mike's been saying, this is an everyone eats offense. Everyone is getting involved in this. They're having their time to shine. And that is, that's the perfect weapon. I think when we kind of come to, I suspect, compare a semi-final between Argentina and Brazil, or when we look at France as well, there's just so much more democratization of this Brazil team, which makes it impossible to beat. Because I can stop Richarlison, but maybe I can't stop Rafinha. It's whack-a-mole. And I think for an old Croatia team, it's all going to be too much.
James, just a quick question. And now you look back on the squad selection by all these nations. What is your thoughts now that you saw that Brazil obviously picked 9 attacking players?
Yeah, it's a really good point, isn't it? Because it means they've got the depth to, for one, to completely change their front line and use their front line heavily. That, like Mike was saying, that front line is working incredibly hard off the ball. And you can do that if Tite obviously reached a conclusion after, well before the group stage began, that he was not going to play the same forwards against Cameroon, wasn't it? So this team looks fresh, and it will look fresh again against Croatia. Giving yourself options, it's never a bad thing. I think sometimes if you're a team like Brazil, or frankly, if you're a team like England, is the other example I was going to, like, you don't need that many defenders, because if you're playing well, your defenders shouldn't have to work that hard. And it never hurts, does it, to have another forward coming off the bench, a smashed glass in case of emergency. And I think kind of obviously with Gabriel Jesus, we're now expecting him to be out for, well, we're still working on a timeline, but it's months rather than weeks. That maybe is a bit of the fly in the ointment, because he was, I think, kind of the only other player you could play as a number 9. Maybe if they need to, Neymar steps into that role. But, there's so many options, aren't there? Like Mike said, if anyone's having an off game, you can bring in Anthony, bring in Martinelli, whoever you want. It's a pretty good position to be in, I have to say.
Real quickly,
that's the scary thing. We haven't even seen Martinelli get a real run out yet. We've seen how dangerous he is. Imagine him now, rested, fit. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous.
Well, it's the same for Neymar, Nigel, as well. When you think about Neymar, it's really unfortunate. Oh, sorry, his ankle looks swollen. But then you're thinking, shit, this guy's going to be rested by the time they get to the knockout stage. He's going to be ready to light it up again. And that's exactly what happens. He's come back, maybe not 100%, kind of cruised through that last game. And now you go into this game where you're going to absolutely need him more. I don't think you can underestimate Croatia. I think obviously we're recognizing how good Brazil are and how offensively minded they are, that the shots there that James pointed out, 75 shots is incredible. Then you look at the shots on goal. Look at Croatia's shots on goal. It was a great graphic that producer Des put up there. They had, I think it was 46, but half of their attempts were on target. So the efficiency from Croatia is where it's at. They do have dangerous weapons. You can watch it also on Paramount Plus when you watch Luka Modric, Perisic, Kovacic. They are household names now in this Croatian side, who we also recognize did so well 4 years ago in Russia. This is a different competition. This is a different Brazil, and something unique in the air about this Brazil side. And I think it might be Tite with his chemistry, the way he's dancing, celebrating with his team. As Nigel pointed out, that is so hard to find. To find a coach that buys into you as human beings, that buys into you as a group, that allows you to express yourself, to be free, to see that type of celebration from Tite, as far as I'm concerned, it just told me my odds to put them as a favorite to win this whole freaking thing was probably spot on, because it's going to take a hell of a performance from Croatia or anybody else, including Argentina or the Netherlands, who they face in the semi-final. It's going to take a hell of a performance to beat that group of players right there. So really, really incredible. Nigel, you got a question for James?
James, were you mad at the dancing, young sir?
No, that's fine. I mean, I definitely couldn't do the dancing. Like, I'll leave it to them. Don't get me involved. Like, if they came up to me at a wedding, I'd just be like, "Oh, sorry, what was that over there?" Sorry, I've gotta go.
I don't believe it for 1 minute,
you
James.
got
Ben.
Depends
more
how
than
much
two
I like to
left.
drink,
Believe
of course,
it.
is the correct answer to that question.
right.
No, I think it's great. I think people like Roy Keane that are mad at the dancing, just get out more, mate.